Welcome back, and today we're going to have a look at the new EDTracker version 2 sketch. Now this has been out for a bit of a while, several weeks, but it's kind of been developing. It's been a bit of a beta really, and there's been some problems with it, but we're now at version 2.9 that Rob's uploaded as of last night, and it seems to be a lot better now, a lot more stable. We've got some enhanced features in the GUI. You can flick between linear and exponential scaling without having to touch code, for example. So it's getting to the point now where I think we can do some instructional video on flashing a device with the version 2 code of EDTracker, or 2.9 specifically, and then how to calibrate it using the nice new GUI that we've got. So we're going to start from afresh again, so some of this will be a repeat of the previous version 1 video. Apologies for those that have already seen that. You can skip that bit, or probably best to just watch it and refresh and make sure that you're not missing any steps, because until in a couple of weeks I'm hoping we should have, I'm working on a completely non-IDE based flashing process, so a Java utility we can use. Rob can incorporate it into the GUI to basically automatically download the latest version, flash it into your device without you having to touch an IDE or drivers or any of that bollocks. So hopefully, you know, we're making this better every kind of week or two that we can. But if you're keen to start looking at version 2.9 now, here we go. This is how we can do it. So we're starting off. I've built up a fresh device. There's no code on this at all. And as usual, we'll just go over some of the basic stuff of what you will need. EDTracker.org.uk, start there. There'll be written instructions on there as well, but for the main part you obviously want to download the source code. Now here you're going to go to EDTracker 2 instead of EDTracker 1. That will take you off to Rob's GitHub, Pocket Moon's GitHub, and here again you just want to click the download zip button and download the whole lot. Okay, I've already grabbed it, so I'm going to cancel that, but click the download zip and grab all of the files that are on there. You obviously will also need the Arduino IDE at this point in time. So arduino.cc, go to download, scroll down and download the beta version. Rob's code, Rob develops on beta, so it's probably best that you're using exactly the same as him. So you can download that, either the installer or the zip file, install it in program files wherever you want it, and that's the Arduino IDE done. Now you will also need, if you haven't got it already, Java. Now chances are I would think you've probably already got Java on your PC, but if you haven't, go to java.com/en/download. I prefer /manual.jsp and grab the offline install of the latest Java. So at the moment it's Java 7 update 60, but obviously Oracle tend to patch it weekly at the moment, so that version may change, but grab the latest one you've got and install that. You can install 32-bit or 64-bit. Because I'm working on XP here and I'm just using a 32-bit version, but be conscious of what version of Java you're using. If it's 32 or 64-bit, that will be important later. Okay, so we've got Java, we've got the Arduino. The other thing we need is in the download section on edtracker.org.uk. There is, if you remember in the version 1 we had an EDTracker 1 custom IDE device for the Arduino. This saved you unpacking a load of libraries and stuff into funny locations. So there's another version for EDTracker 2. Some of the libraries are different, so you want to grab the EDTracker 2 Arduino IDE custom device. It's in the software category on the download section of the website. So here you can see EDTracker 2, download that. Okay, right then, so we are all good to go. We've got downloaded everything we needed, haven't we? Yes. So first thing we need to do is unpack that IDE device that we just downloaded. So if you open up the zip file, you'll see a hardware folder. Okay, that's one side. Go to wherever you installed your Arduino IDE. for me it's program files / arduino 156r2 Windows, and you'll see a hardware folder in there. You can kind of guess what you've got to do. Just drag hardware into your Arduino install folder. It's perfectly fine for it to overwrite, to merge the hardware folder, so overwrite it won't overwrite any files, but merge it in, so that now under hardware you've got an EDTracker 2 folder. Okay? So you see Arduino install a hardware folder, and underneath there we have an EDTracker 2 alongside Arduino and tools. And that is all good. Next thing we want to do is unpack the source code that we downloaded off GitHub. So that was in this EDTracker 2 master zip. So if you open up that, you'll see 4 folders: core, library, sketches and UI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my documents, and I have an Arduino folder there. If you don't have an Arduino folder, just launch the IDE once and then close it down and it will create it. So after that you should have an Arduino folder. In here we'll have some sketches, 2 sketches, EDTracker 2 and EDTracker 2 calibrate, that you downloaded off GitHub. 2 folders there underneath sketches. Extract those out into your my documents / Arduino folder, like so. What I also do is, if you go back up one in the zip, there's a UI folder. Now this you can put anywhere you want to. This is the Windows GUI that we use to configure and calibrate the device. I'm just going to extract it into the Arduino folder as well. I know it's not technically anything to do with Arduino, but it's all together then. So extract that. Now in the library folder you've got this InventSense motion driver. If you've done the custom IDE device in the previous step, you can ignore that for now because it's included in that. But if for some reason you're using the old method of merging files into your IDE manually or downloading libraries manually, then what you'll do is you'll extract that into the libraries folder there. Okay, and then there's a core folder, and again all those cores are included in that custom IDE folder, device that we did previously. So despite what the GitHub instructions might say about extracting core and library, if you do that custom device in the previous step, then you can ignore them. Okay, so next thing to do is to get the device installed, and again, if you've not done it before, you'll need to put some drivers in. So I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to clamp it up just for convenience, and you'll see it'll say found new hardware Arduino Leonardo. And if you've not put any drivers on your PC before, so this is for people who this is the first time you're trying this, you will get a what's this hardware thing. Don't bother with any Windows Update because you won't find it there. So we're going to manually find it. I'm going to specify a location, and the drivers are in program file. Wherever you installed the Arduino IDE, there's a drivers folder underneath it. Guess what's in there? Of course, drivers. So click OK, click Next, let it install, find the drivers and install, and let go. And then say found new hardware USB human interface device. In this instance, this might be slightly different on Windows 7 or 8, but generally it's all the same. Found new hardware. Right, drivers are done. So we can now look to program our first calibration sketching. Now, the first time you run it up, you can go to Sketchbook, and you'll see your 2 sketches listed here: EDTracker 2 and EDTracker 2 calibrate. The first one you want to put in is the calibrate one. So click that and load up the calibration sketch. You don't have to edit this code at all, just load it up. What we will need to do is set up the Arduino IDE to talk to our device if you've not done this before. So port, generally it's the last COM port, the most recent COM port that's been added. I'm going to choose COM3. I'm fairly confident it's going to be that one. I'm also going to choose on board, I'm going to choose the EDTracker 2 device. So by default it's Arduino Uno, At most, if you did this the old-fashioned way, you'd want to change this to Arduino Micro, okay, or Leonardo would probably work. But because we've packaged all of our stuff up into a custom device, you can use EDTracker 2 and it will include all those libraries that we need that have been modified. So once you've done that, we can click the upload button, and this is where we find out if we've got the right COM port. You see in the bottom corner we've got EDTracker 2 on COM 3, so we can always look there to see what we're doing. It's uploading something, so I think chances are we got the right one. Okay, and then because this is the first time that we've flashed it, you get an error because it flicks to another serial port now. Don't worry about this. This will only happen the first time. If you just redetect the drivers, it'll redetect this other device called an Arduino Leonardo bootloader. What's that? I won't bore you with the technicalities. There's another piece of code that's built into the Arduinos that is the bootloader that lets you get code into it. And the first time you run the upload portion of the IDE, it kicks that bootloader in on a separate COM port. Now we can just re-push that flash up. So just do it a second time. This is only because we've only just redetected the bootloader device. It won't do this ever again now, but what I'm showing you is a very fresh first install of Windows and all of the device drivers. So that'll upload fine now. And there we go, done uploading. Okay, so next thing to do is to use the GUI to calibrate this device. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into a separate PC now, my desktop PC, just because the GUI doesn't run so great in a virtual machine through a VNC desktop session. So I'm just going to plug it in to my PC here. Now in the zip file that we downloaded off GitHub, there was a UI folder, if you remember, and we extracted that. Well, you can extract it wherever you want to, basically. Go into that, you'll see two folders, 32-bit and 64-bit. This is what I touched on earlier. This relates to the version of Java that you have installed, not your operating system necessarily. So if you've got a 32-bit Java runtime environment, or JRE, go into the 32-bit folder, 64-bit, 64-bit. I'm running the 32-bit JRE at the moment, so I'm going to go into the 32-bit folder, and you'll see there's an EDTracker util.exe. Run that up, and you will get the GUI fire up. You will search around for devices, and you should get something like this. Now what we're seeing at the moment, remember this is a completely raw device, so the head might be offset, it might be spinning around, it could be doing a variety of things, but don't worry too much about that for now. What we want to do is we want to get, you can see we've got EDTracker calibration version 2.2 monitoring. Monitoring is good, that means it's connected to the device. And if it's not, you can try pressing 1 to toggle that to monitoring or not. Okay? So here we're monitoring it, and I can see that the head is slowly rotating to its left as it believes it's drifting. But if you look at this crosshair section here, you'll see there's two dots, and what we ideally want is those in the middle. If this device was spot on calibrated from the factory for the position that it's in, these dots would be right on the middle of the crosshair. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it to recalculate that center, and all we do to do that is we press 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 9, let it churn through for a few seconds. You'll see some numbers spurt out in the bottom, and then hopefully those dots should move towards the center. And you can see here they've gone bang onto the middle of the crosshairs. You can repeat that a few times, you know, get that down to those dots being in the middle, or certainly within the inner circle is fine. I've got that in one hit. I have in a couple of cases need to go, you know, 2 or 3 times, particularly if you're flashing a device that has had the EDTracker 1 sketch in it first. So that might take a few iterations, but when the dots get within that inner circle, you're in the right ballpark. And that's it then. All we're going to do is quit out of that GUI by pressing the Q button. So when we're happy, don't worry about the position of the head, dots in the middle, we're done. Q, quit out. Okay, that's the calibration done of the offsets for the accelerometer and the gyroscope. What we've got to do now is go and put the main sketch into it. So, because of the way I've just unplugged this, I need to just unplug it out of this PC, plug it into my development PC. This is not something you'll have to do, so don't let this confuse matters. Okay, and then back in our IDE, we're going to load up the other sketch, the EDTracker 2 sketch, not the EDTracker 2 calibrate now. Load this up. You can see here we've got version 2.9, which is what this video is based on. I use exponential scaling, and I know for a fact that these kind of values of 8 on the first few lines of code that you see, you'll see there's a float exp scale equals 8.0. I need a higher sensitivity to that for my preferences, and I would suggest you probably do the same. I'm going to jump those up to 16. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Try it out first. I just prefer to bump the sensitivity up. If you find that when you're playing it afterwards, you're having to move your head too much to get your desired motion in game, then just increase these numbers and re-flash the code into the device. We're working on getting these changed without having to do code, do it through the GUI. So if you can live with it, in a couple of weeks I think this will be resolved. You won't need to do this, but yeah, okay. So either way, take your EDTracker 2 sketch and then click the upload button and flash that into the device. So we'll wait for that to complete. There we go, done uploading, and that's it, it's flashed. Then you can close the IDE, save my changes, and again, don't have to worry about this for your purposes, but because I'm working in an IDE, I'm just going to, in a VM, sorry, I'm going to plug this back into my main PC. Right, now we're going to just run up the EDTracker util again. So the same one that we double clicked earlier. Okay, and a slightly different set of menus you'll notice now. You'll say for a start it's saying EDTracker 2 version 2.9 monitoring. So it's pointing out that it's not connected to something running the calibration sketch now. It's connected to an EDTracker that's running the main gaming sketch, if you like, the main device sketch that makes it work as a head tracker. We're monitoring. Again, you can press 1 to toggle that on or off. I'm going to press 2 to get info, and you can see some biases and all values coming in. One thing I know is that I prefer to use orientation of 0, which is if the device is sitting on top of your head. Basically, if you take the device and you move it around and find that it's moving in the right direction, the head, for how you move it, then that's fine. If it's not, and mine isn't, then you press 5, rotate mounting axis. And from my perspective, I need orientation 0. Orientation 0 here means as if it's sitting on your head. Some of the other orientation options are for if you've got it on the side of your head, here or here. Okay, so try cycling those until you get the device moving the right way in the GUI. Don't worry about rotate, but basically left, right, up and down. So that's looking good. Then I'm going to sit that still. Press 3 to reset the head to centre. So you can see he's looking dead centre now. I'm just looking at the 2 dots up here and there. The green dot is smack bang in the middle. The orange dot is slightly off, but I'll live with that, it's not a problem. And what we're going to do now is leave it calculating your drift. Now this is represented by a line here, but also you can see a number here, your drift minus 0.91 at the moment. And that doesn't look like that's fluctuating much, to be honest. What I'm going to do is leave that for 10 minutes come back and see how much it's changed. So we won't record all of that, we'll pause it there and we'll come back in 10. So I've done the typical British pastime of making a cup of tea. I'm back now 6 minutes after it was going, and you can see it's still, your drift is at minus 99, so it you can see the head has spun round quite a bit, but with no drift compensation in the device at all on the first run. It's definitely going to drift some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that drift compensation by pressing 8. Oops, if I've selected the right window. And then I'm going to reset the head. So I'm going to press 3 and recenter it. And then, because we've saved the drift compensation and reset the head to center, the EDTracker is now compensating for that drift by basically adding a number that reverses it and cancels it out basically. So what we should see now is that your drift value is a lot smaller. Now you can see it's at minus 0.05, which is an incredibly small amount over a period of time. You're very rarely going to get it at perfect zero. So we're just going to keep an eye on that. But that looks pretty stable to me. So that's it, it's done. You're ready to now put this onto your head, however you intend to do it, probably on a headset. Be careful to keep the orientation the same, yeah? So we set this at orientation 0, which is on the top of your head. That's what it was set to in the sketch, in the UI. So if you then put this on the side, the axes will all be wrong. So make sure you set the orientation for exactly as you calibrated it and tested it. That's it. That should be it. There's nothing really much more to say. That's version 2.9. There should hopefully be some more improvements coming in the next few weeks. But it's certainly, the whole calibration process now is a lot easier. The next step to work on is obviously all of the use of the Arduino IDE and flashing is what's annoying a lot of people. And that's appreciable, you know. There's a lot of ball ache around putting drivers and folders in the right place, and you know, there are moves afoot to get rid of that. You can still do that if you want to. If you want to tweak the code, that's fine. It's still going to be open source, but what we're going to do is give you the option to download the binary files and just flash binary, pre-compiled binary straight into the device, so you don't have to bother with any of that. So watch this space, and we shall see you soon. Hopefully see you at LiveCon, maybe some of you. Until then, until next time, see you later. Bye.